Today we're going to be talking about evolution. If I would have probably gone to a normal car company and said this kind of stuff, the insults that I slung would probably have been looked at as a real big issue, but not to Elon Musk. I said this should be one part, and guess what? One part. But Elon is one of those guys who's never really quite satisfied. So the one part and the connecting parts and the other part, the other casting, he felt should be one part. And guess what? That's what he did over here. This is the Model Y. This is the casting for the Model Y. And you can see it's all one part. It was useless, wasted space. This is a good idea, and it evolves. He started out one way, he got a suggestion, he did basically what we thought would be the right thing to do, and then he went one step further. But that's not all he did.
In this video, Professor Munro gives a lecture on evolution. And don't worry, if your sphincter started to contract at the very word, if you believe in fairy tales and want to keep living in your world of delusion, we're not talking about that kind of evolution. We're talking about evolution in terms of Tesla's manufacturing techniques. And by the way, the whole point of this video isn't about what's happening now, it's about the trajectory of improvement. How rapidly is Tesla evolving in terms of their manufacturing techniques versus the rest of the automotive industry? Remember, survival of the fittest. In the manufacturing world, those companies whose engineering, whose products, whose manufacturing techniques are most suitable, most competitive in the environment are the ones who win, and everybody else, well, they're soon to become nothing but part of the fossil record. This is unquestionably one of the most valuable and insightful Munro Live teardowns of all time. So let's get into it. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoy these videos, there's a bunch of ways you can support the channel, access exclusive content and perks. Check out the links in the pinned comment below. If you want to take it to the next level, join thousands of members on Patreon to gain exclusive access to over 100 Q&A videos, loads of exclusive content, exclusive access to my up-to-date 10-year Tesla stock price targets, and even access my Tesla valuation model at the investor support level and above. You can also pick up some Tesla, Elon, and investment theme merch in the merch store, so check out the links in the pinned comment below, and thanks for your support. Tesla stock moved higher again today, up almost 6%, nearly $50 per share, closing just under $900 a share. And yep, I've been saying it since $620. Still the best risk-adjusted opportunity that I'm aware of in the stock market. Don't say I didn't warn you. Over the last 5 days now, Tesla stock up about 10%. Over the last 1 month, up over 30%. However, year to date, still down 25%. And over the last 1 year, up a mere 29%. The Nasdaq 100 today was up nearly 2%. Apple stock up over 3%. Amazon stock rocketing higher, more than 10%. Alphabet stock, Google's parent company, up nearly 2%. Rivian stock up just over 1%. Lucid stock going absolutely nowhere today. Nikola stock sank 2.5%, and the ARK Innovation ETF down over 2%. Quite a mixed bag. Just out of interest, let me know in the comments below if you happen to pick up Tesla stock in the last couple of months at these ridiculous prices. Oh, and by the way, I got to point it out, I'm now 3 from 3 with merch designs. Tesla hodler shirt design. Notice, I designed this shirt here, and then, well, yeah, funnily enough, first Tesla stock to the moon shirt, literally predicted the trajectory of Tesla stock. Total accident, I swear. Then I followed up with a Tesla stock to Mars shirt. Amazingly, the exact same fucking thing happened, and well, here we are, folks. I mean, guess I should make more merch designs, because every time I do. By the way, if you'd like your own Tesla hodler merch, link in description. There's shirts, mugs, hoodies, phone cases, and loads more. Great way to support the channel and a great conversation starter. By the look of it, we're probably about maybe 15 or 20% away from this shirt becoming yet another self-fulfilling prophecy. This is a very bizarre coincidence. That is all it is, but I mean, what the actual f***? Anyway, link in pinned comment if you'd like your own Tesla hodler merch. Now, let's get on to the Munro Live teardown.
Today, we're going to be talking about evolution, not the kind you were thinking. This is the evolution from our first chance to have a look at how the folks at Tesla were manufacturing their vehicles. This is the infamous, there's 120 parts here, kind of car. Inside, you can see I've made lots and lots of comments about how much of an issue it is to try and put together the original Model 3. Now, did that make people happy? Probably not. And if I would have probably gone to a normal car company and said this kind of stuff, the insults that I slung would probably have been looked at as a real big issue. But not to Elon Musk. I said this should be one part, one part. And I was talking basically about half of this. And guess what? One part. But Elon is one of those guys who's never really quite satisfied. So the one part and the connecting parts and the other part, the other casting, he felt should be one part. And guess what? That's what he did over here. This is the Model Y. This is the casting for the Model Y. And you can see it's all one part. And you can see that there's a lot of room in here. A lot of room to put in a plastic tray. And if you remember back there on the Model 3, this used to be another chunk of sheet metal. Actually, it was aluminum, but it didn't matter. It was useless, wasted space. This is a good idea, and it evolves. He started out one way. He got a suggestion. He did basically what we thought would be the right thing to do, and then he went one step further. But that's not all he did.
So a couple of things I want to discuss here. First of all, Sandy Munro alluding to the original Munro and Associates teardown of Tesla's Model 3. At the time, they absolutely panned this thing, justifiably so. It was pretty embarrassing, of course. Don't blame Tesla. They were very inexperienced when it comes to manufacturing a mass production vehicle. However, as Sandy Munro points out, rather than getting butthurt and defensive when they heard some critical feedback, Tesla took it on board and implemented. Not only took it on board and implemented, but took it multiple steps further. In the span of just a few years, 5 of them in fact, Tesla, the company, in terms of their manufacturing capabilities, forget everything else, has gone from laughing stock of the automotive industry to embarrassing the entire automotive industry in just 5 years. In the intro, I discussed momentum, trajectory, where are we going from here? Cast your mind forward into the future. If this is how much evolution we've seen in just half a decade, from the worst to the best, what do you think the next 5 years looks like?
So he went from no castings to 2 castings to 1 casting in the back, and then we moved to the front of the car. And here we have the front casting. Now you'll notice too that there's this gigantic open space right here. That used to be called the firewall. They changed it because people were, intimidated by the word fire in firewall. But in essence, it was there in case the engine caught on fire. That's why they called it a firewall. This thing is now one great big giant chunk of plastic. Why? Because they can do it. It doesn't do anything else. These castings are so rigid, so strong, so incredibly well designed.
Just want to remind everybody that words really matter. Munro here is effectively having a prolonged orgasm. Incredibly well designed. Not decent, not good. Incredibly well designed.
You don't need that extra piece of sheet metal to close it out. And then he went one step further. And that's why you see this gigantic hole where a floor usually sits. Because, again, these guys at Tesla, they take everything that you say literally, and then they go and basically implement. It's amazing. It is truly, to me, amazing that these guys can do so much in such a short period of time.
Once again, words really matter. Amazing, 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 amazing. And in terms of how much Tesla is able to do in a short span of time, this speaks volumes of not only Tesla's leadership, but also their engineering talent, capabilities, and the company's culture, the very DNA of Tesla. Why is it that a company who 5 years ago sucked shit at putting together vehicles is now running circles around the entire automotive industry? Companies who've been in business for decades, in some cases over a century. Tesla's gone from the laughing stock to the example. We heard Elon Musk in an interview many years ago with Marcus Brownlee discussing the idea of the best part is no part, the best process is no process. And we've seen Tesla actually follow up on these words. This wasn't just some catchphrase. Elon was serious. Delete parts, delete processes. And this is exactly what we have seen. The fact that Tesla has been able to do what any automotive company could have done in the last 5 years and has gone from the worst to the best in that span of time is an indictment on not only the leadership, but the engineering capabilities and the culture of legacy automotive manufacturers. GM could have done this. Ford could have done this. Volkswagen could have done this. Toyota could have done this. None of them did. Admittedly, they do have a major disadvantage. 1, they don't have Elon, and 2, they don't have their pick of the bunch from the world's elite engineers. I mean, really. Tesla is a company made up of the world's best and brightest. Let's just be honest here. As we know from surveys of graduating engineering students, everyone wants to work for Elon at either SpaceX or Tesla. Literally, these two companies jostle for the number 1 and 2 position year after year when graduating engineering students are surveyed. Where do you most want to work? Every year for the last half decade or more, it's been Tesla or SpaceX in number 1 and 2. At number 420,000 on the list, you'll find Ford and Government Motors and Lockheed Martin and Boeing. This means that Tesla gets their pick of the bunch from the world's best and brightest. Literally, the top 1%, the top 0.1%. They all want to work for Elon. And by extension, that also means that everyone else, including competing automotive companies, have to choose from the leftovers. Now, no offense to any of the engineers who currently work at Ford or Government Motors or name your legacy automotive manufacturer, but you just got to be honest. If your engineering talent pool is made up of leftovers, C, D, and E grade players, I mean, I'm sure you'll do some decent work, some decent engineering, but you're just not going to be able to keep pace with Tesla, and we've seen this over the last few years. And again, I go back to the point earlier in the video. It's not about what's just happened. It's about what does this look like in the future. When I say Tesla's lead is unassailable, I really mean it. It's not only that they're years in front of the other companies in terms of their capabilities, it's that they're moving ahead faster than anyone else, meaning it is literally impossible to catch up. If you're already starting behind Tesla and you're not moving as fast as Tesla, you never catch up to Tesla.
We talked a little bit about the rear end of the vehicle, but on the Tesla Model Y that we tore to pieces, the first one, you can see that all these pieces turned into a good number of those. A good number of those pieces turned into a casting. Now, let's think about this casting for a little bit. And I'm sure that there's some engineers out there are going, "Oh no, he's going to rub our nose in it again." And the answer is correct.
What an absolute fucking savage.
Let's go over here. A front casting, a rear casting, a center casting that basically is also could potentially be the battery storage area. 3 castings, been here for 15 years. So let's talk about evolution, okay? So there are some animals who haven't evolved at all over the centuries. They look kind of like prehistoric. They are prehistoric. And yet, other animals, like a horse, went from something about the size of a dog, a small dog, to what we see today. How does that happen? Why do they evolve? Well, it has something to do with intelligence.
If what Sandy is saying is true, and some form of intelligence is required to go from laughingstock of the automotive manufacturing industry to a leading example, does that then not also indicate a lack of evolution is directly linked to a lack of intelligence? And that may explain why General Motors, Ford, Volkswagen, Toyota, Hyundai, Honda, name your automotive company, has failed to make the same kind of progress that Tesla has, not in the last 5 years, but in the last 50 or 100. Is Sandy Munro suggesting that all of the world's legacy automotive manufacturers today are dumb? I don't know, by just thinking out loud here. Certainly might explain a few things. In fact, it pretty much explains everything.
Voila! You went from basically a dinosaur to something a lot more creative and inventive to the world-class design that you see sitting over here.
Once again, words matter, and once again, we just heard Sandy Munro referring to Tesla's engineering as world-class. So hey, don't take my word for it. Listen to the automotive engineering expert of experts.
All I can tell you is that this is the right way to do business, and the reason for that is because it saves the company hundreds of millions of dollars, not to mention the square footage that you need for a plant that would do all these different stampings and whatnot. You need stamping machines, you need dies, you need people to operate them, you need robots, you need Pillsbury, you need pits in the floor, you need people to drag the swarf or off-wall out of the plant. You've got forklift trucks, you've got big trucks, little trucks, all running around, forklift trucks, everybody doing everything. And yet, when you got castings, the mold closes, the mold opens. The parts come out, they go into a trim die, and they head for a little bit of machining.
So I think Sandy Munro was just describing parts and processes. Lots of them. Elon Musk, best part, no part, best process, no process, so delete them. And Munro is just describing all the parts and processes that Tesla, wait for it, has deleted. And when we talk about saving a company hundreds of millions of dollars, clearly this stuff really matters. This isn't just an engineering nerd getting excited about some nerdy engineering shit. This has huge, profound business implications. This is why Tesla is printing money. This is why Tesla is making EVs profitably at scale and nobody else is accomplishing the same goal. Tesla has such an unfair competitive advantage because they have big brain engineers that do stuff like this. They are literally running circles around the rest of the automotive industry, and this isn't just limited to legacy automotive manufacturers. The same is true of new EV startups. They haven't made the mistakes and had the learnings yet. It's too early. They're not doing high enough volumes for some of these things to make economic sense, like the huge casting. There is a reason today that Tesla doesn't use the giga casting on the Model S and X. They're low volume vehicles. It doesn't make economic sense, so they can't. So if a company like Lucid or Rivian wants to do the same thing, well, guess what? It doesn't make financial sense until they reach many hundreds of thousands of units per year on each vehicle model. So how do you compete with Tesla on cost if you don't have the volume to justify these kind of investments in equipment and technologies like a gigantic casting machine? Oh wait, you don't. You're fucked.
This, the black one over there, the Model 3, what had happened with that? Stamps, 100 of times, then put glue on it, then weld it all up, then check for the welds, then try and straighten it out with 2x4s, because you do that on the factory floor, because that's what happens. Steel springs. This is like a stone. It doesn't move. Anybody that's watching this video and is going to design a new product, a new car, a new vehicle, a new truck, whatever, think seriously about this. By the way, there is no heat treat required for this because it happens so quickly in basically in less than a second. I'm not going to try and tell you in milliseconds, but less than a second this is filled up. That means there's no induced stress. It moves too quickly to have induced stress like a normal casting. This is the way to go. This is my all-time favorite structural members inside of any vehicle that I've seen so far. I'm really happy with it.
Once again, words matter, and we just heard Sandy Munro use a couple that carry enormous weight. All-time favorite, not top 10, all-time favorite. Food for thought.
One thing I want to add is cost of quality. So first of all, this has happened in a short period of time. We received that Model 3 in late 2017, early 2018, and this is mid 2020. And to see the evolution go from that to this is quite amazing. It's actually made our job easier, because back when we had to do a cost analysis on that Model 3, we're dealing with hundreds and hundreds of parts. Structural adhesive, not only welds, but that's a mixed material body. So you have aluminum, you have steel, so there's hen robs, self-piercing rivets. It's really complicated for us and our team to analyze all of the equipment needed to manufacture this. Tesla's made it a little bit easy for us to assess this body because the part count is dropping every time we tear a Tesla down. Now, Sandy, you've been a pioneer of lean design for 35 years, 40 years. Can you explain cost of quality to our engineers? What does that mean?
So the cost of quality is a term that we use that applies to the whole car. So if I have a part that causes other parts to be or adjusted or whatever, that part that's causing the defect has a cost of quality associated with it, and we can calculate that. Calculating the cost of quality is a little more difficult than most of the other type of costing that we do, but cost of quality is very, very important, because in many cases, what happens is the cost of quality turns out to be more than the part cost, or it definitely will turn out to be more than the shipping, receiving, supplier delivery, logistics, everything else. It can really be expensive. Why do we bring up the cost of quality? Because this has virtually none. It's always exactly the same. When I talked about BMW, I said that they have a carbon fiber body, and basically the carbon fiber is a stone when it gets all done. Well, what does that mean? It means that I can make a perfect car every time. This doesn't have a whole lot of cost of quality associated with it, because first, it's going to be, it's a part that in essence is going to come in the same every time. And when you're building products, similar or the same is what you're really shooting for. I don't want any deviation, right? So Dr. Deming used to say, as deviation is reduced, quality increases. Variation and deviation, same thing. Variation or deviation is reduced, the quality is increased, and that's what we've got here. This is a high quality product, and I don't care which one of the marketing guys out there is trying to get you to not buy one of these by telling you something like, range anxiety or or, you know, these things could crack. Any of these kind of characters, they're paid to come up with deception. This is the right way to go.
Yeah.
So the question is, how many automotive manufacturers will heed Sandy Munro's advice? This is how to do it. Just copy Tesla. Do your own gigantic castings.
And Tesla's not just improving by adding these large castings. They've improved the body side inner and outer. So what we mean by body side, here's the body side outer and body side inner. These are now hot stamped. They're hot stamped steel. And Sandy can explain what hot stamped steel is. It's usually much stronger, ultra high strength steel, very high strength steel. And if you go back and look at the Model 3, similar architecture, but look at how complicated these body side inners and outers are. You have multiple shingled layers. Notice this pillar is not part of the lower. And there's a shingling going on here, right here in the kick-up, and there's tailor welded blanks here. So they went from a more complicated body side inner and outer on the Model Y right here that we got in 2020. They went to a single piece inner and outer, and they've even improved it further by eliminating all of this floor structure. So it's not just the castings. They're rethinking how they're doing all their pieces and parts of the vehicle. This was an extrusion on our 2020, and now it's integrated as part of the casting on the 2022.
And this is the kind of evolution that we're hoping the other car companies are going to go to. Is this a tough pill to swallow for the executives and even the engineers? Sure it is. It's a departure from the way they've always done everything. And everybody always wants to do the same thing over and over again, hoping for different results. And it never is going to change until you make some dramatic change like that. So the tip today for all the engineers out there is to start considering what's normal and everyday practice today, but what should we be doing tomorrow? It's time to invent. We're not in the olden days. The good old days weren't always that good anyway, but the good old days are gone. We're in the new day. This is the new era. Time to move on up.
Question is, are any automotive manufacturers at all actually going to listen? Do they even want to move on up? Or are they going to continue digging themselves 6 feet under? Actually, I kind of already know the answer to that one, but let's pretend that they still have a chance. Hope you guys and girls have enjoyed this video. Like I said, one of the best Munro Live teardowns of all time. The focus, the emphasis, the key takeaway from this video isn't how amazing Tesla's engineering is today. It is their pace of innovation. It requires a little thinking, which I know sometimes hurts and some of you aren't a big fan of, but think a little bit about what this means for the future of Tesla versus the rest of the automotive industry. If this is what they've done in half a decade, from worst of the bunch to best in class, world class in Sandy Munro's own words, just think about the next 5, 10, 15 plus years. You ain't seen nothing yet. And those who are still a little confused as to how exactly Tesla might sell 20 plus million electric vehicles in a single year, per their publicly stated goals, they're aiming to do that around 2030. Those who think, well, hang on a minute, Teslas are expensive. No one's going to be able to afford them. It's worth letting the implications of Tesla's pace of innovation sink in. The more parts and processes they delete, the lower the cost to produce a vehicle. Not only the lower the cost, but the shorter the time and the smaller the factory footprint. Take some time to let the implications sink in, something I don't think the likes of Mary B. Aspara have done. As always, there's a link in the description to the full teardown video, which I highly recommend everybody watch. And lastly, don't forget you can join Patreon with the card in the corner or the link in the pinned comment. Just a quick heads up, submissions are currently open for the latest exclusive Q&A. They'll be closing soon, so head over to Patreon and get your questions in now. I'm Stephen Mark Ryan, this is Solving the Money Problem, and I love you all. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoy these videos, there's a bunch of ways you can support the channel, access exclusive content and perks, and get some free stocks and crypto. Check out the links in the pinned comment below. You can also pick up some Tesla, Elon, and investment themed merch in the merch store. If you want to take it to the next level, join thousands of members on Patreon to gain exclusive access to over 100 Q&A videos, loads of exclusive content, exclusive access to my up-to-date 10-year Tesla stock price targets, and even access my Tesla valuation model at the investor support level and above. So check out the links in the pinned comment below, and thanks for your support. And if you're still watching, you're awesome. I read every single comment on this channel and I really appreciate your feedback. So if you've got any thoughts on today's video, questions, comments, or suggestions for a new video, let me know in the comments below. Check the cards on screen now to browse the merch store, join Patreon, or watch the next video.